Hey everyone, and welcome to the 4th episode of the Foulborn Roulette. It is another spin of the wheel, and I land on this thing. All entries of the wheel correspond with this stash tab. It is the Foulborn the Searing Touch, which means a lot of Searing Bond totems. Let's burn down the house, and if you like this content, consider subscribing, liking, sharing even, it really helps. As with many of these runs, Searing Bond is yet again another skill I haven't played, but plus 5 totems, that must be good, I think to myself. The item is now plus 4, but that is about to change. First things first though, a new character, a Templar. I'm aware there are super fast ways to level ults, but as I'm quite unfamiliar with the skill, I decided to level using twink items and totems. Yeah, it will take me an hour or two extra, but I will gain some valuable experience. At level 12 I can buy a Searing Bond totem. I will deep dive into this thing later, but for now suffice to say it creates totems with flaming beams between them, and thanks to Flamewood support, every time a monster hits my totem, it shoots an artillery bomb at the monster basically. So far so good. Or well, good. I mean, it doesn't do damage, as can be seen on Merville, but otherwise it is absolutely amazing. In Act 2, on bandits, the totems still don't deal damage. I'm scaling damage over time, by the way. With Foul Oversoul, the burning damage still sucks, yet the Flamewood support does the heavy lifting. However, that only works when totems are being hit. Here's a glimpse of the tree. This is all completely homegrown. I haven't even looked at the wiki at this point, and Piety proves that, again, as long as something hits these totems, they dish out a ton of damage, and if not, I'm just staring at a bunch of pretty searing beams. When I think spell totems, I think Hierophant, and I start with Pursuit of Faith. The build starts to take shape a little bit over here. This isn't horrible. It's not good, but it's not horrible. I'm getting close to being able to equip this staff, so I define it for plus 5 to totems and a decent dot roll. I 6-link it too. While I'm at it, I found a corrupted Dragonfang's replica amulet with plus 3 to searing skills, so I equip that once I hit the level requirements. I can't anoint it, unfortunately, I don't have that oil, but hey, it's SSF, you win some, you lose some. A little later, I can equip the staff, and I link Searing Bond to Efficacy, Combustion, Controlled Destruction, Flamewood support, and multiple totem support. I get Ritual of Awakening in the 3rd lab, puts 20% quality on Searing Bond as that summons 2 extra totems. Here you see me running from Delirium monsters and only occasionally summoning totems because this skill is super expensive to cast. I take the life cost mastery to alleviate the cost a little bit, and the campaign ends with Kitava being burnt down by 13 Searing Bond totems. While you're watching this, let me share with you a bit what I am thinking at this point in the campaign. Primarily, my idea here is to scale fire damage over time and burning, and just plant a load of totems and burn everything to a crisp. The Flamewood support, I feel, just for one link adds significant damage, but I am not scaling the Flamewood support in any way, I just consider it a bonus. With this mindset and build idea, I kill Kitava and I enter maps, and I feel this is a good idea to talk about the items and the 2 skills. While you watch me delve with Searing Bond totems, let's talk about the Foulborn unique, about Searing Bond, and about Flamewood support. Half of the things I tell you at this point in the video I figure out way later in the playthrough, but okay. First, the unique. It's straightforward enough, this staff, the Foulborn Searing Touch. The regular version has cast speed instead of plus 5 to max Searing Bond totems. This one is obviously a lot more fun and the reason why I have 13 totems. And in my opinion, this thing was completely nuts, because I thought that the beams from Searing Bond totems actually stack. Which brings me to the Searing Bond skill. Searing Bond summons a totem, which then casts a link, the Searing Bond, between you itself and any other totem that you may have out there. This link does burning damage, it scales with spell damage as well, and despite the wiki not telling you, these links do not stack. Having 1 link on an enemy does the same burning damage as having 13 links on an enemy. To me, this makes absolutely 0 sense, but fine. This is why, when it comes to the actual skill itself, additional totems don't really do all that much. You can increase the area in which you have searing bonds, like I'm doing on these delve nodes, and that is pretty fun and all. I'm making these diagrams and whatnot, but for single target damage it does nothing. Again, I do not realize this until much later, also because everything dies fast anyway, and I have no decent point of reference. And that leads me to Flamewood support, a very interesting support. This turns totems into fire mortars or artillery by giving them the Avenging Flame skill. All this means is when they get hit, they launch a fire projectile spell at the monster that hits them, which explodes in an area. That also means that all of these tags that I just mentioned can be used to skill the support gem. So additional projectiles, spell damage, area damage, increased area of effect, fire damage, elemental damage, all of those things. And finally, what is very important is that the base damage of the projectile spell is determined by the maximum life of the totem. The more life the totem has, the more damage Flamewood support does. Which is why you typically see this on totems with a lot of life, like rejuvenation totems. However, as I rolled the staff, I will be playing this with Searing Bond totems. This is the base premise of the rest of the video. You now know this. Me in the footage does not know this yet, and I'm just happy scaling damage over time Searing Bond totems at this point. Back to the playthrough, I am incinerating my way through Delve, drawing flaming hot diagrams on Delve nodes, thinking about how cool I am. Here is the passive tree, there's a lot of dot damage going on, and I'm fairly pleased with how this is going. I have zero expectations really when I started this. I imported the build into Path of Building, I made an entire damage over time tree. I get all of that done in-game as well, and some notable mentions. I have 75% spell block, around 50% attack block. I put in a level 5 awakened burning damage support, a 2120 Searing Bond, elemental focus is out for now. I get Malevolence Aura, Skitterbots and Discipline. I craft a Bleeding Immunity Flask with Beast Crafting, 2 very defensive crafts for extra effective hit pool as both of these provides shields, and a new 6 link with a ton of armor and energy shield. I do the 4th lab around level 80, Isaro burns down like everything else that I've encountered so far. I take Arcane Blessing for 20% more spell damage, get an even better chest. I don't need 2 6 links, this thing has my auras in it and I'm not using other skills besides Searing Bond Totem. Here is the stat overview. I kept all of the resistances, 3700 life, almost 2k energy shield and enough mana to just cast all my totems, although I do get a level 21 clarity linked to arrogance in order to sustain the ridiculous mana cost. I tried Eldritch Battery, however, I just didn't go for that in the end. And this is all pretty decent, and here is, I believe, the first tier 16 map that I'm running. I also have a Rain of Splinters duel in my setup as well, which adds 2 projectiles to totems, and that also works for the Flamewood support. This is completely fine for a starting point. At the end of the map I invest more in defenses, bringing my energy shield to 2.8k. This goes on for a while. I am now at 3.2k energy shield, I reach level 83, bringing life up to 3.4k, and I basically kept scaling this archetype. Damage over time, Searing Bond totems with additional Flamewood support. I was just cruising through maps. I wouldn't really say this is a mapper or anything, but it is a decent jack of all trades, having no issues with mapping despite not being very fast, and also doing very respectable single target damage. However, I also felt I was a master of none. I had yet again created something that is at least functional, but clearly not optimal. It's SSF, we all play the game mode a little differently, and I usually would settle for a character like this. However, this time I felt I wanted to push it a little bit further and explore some additional options. And also I decided to just start running tier 17 maps, which went surprisingly well. I cleared the whole map without any issues, and then I take on Lycia. I feel this isn't an easy boss. I gave her like 40% cast speed as well, and sure, I die a few times, but the damage output is very good. I realize, however, that at this stage, the dot damage is negligible compared to the Flamewood support damage, despite me not scaling the Flamewood damage at all, which for me is the trigger to look into the Flamewood business more closely. Vroon demonstrates this also quite well. It is at this time I figure out what I already told you in chapter 2, so I create myself a path of building based on my character, and it looks something like this with one cluster. I start by crafting those clustered jewels. This is my first attempt for a large fire cluster. Here is the second. It's not ideal, but beggars can't be choosers in SSF. I can always improve these later, and I never do. The medium ones, I want totem life on there for sure, and then whatever seems decent. Ancestral reach is fine, and this happens twice, which is completely fine once again. I don't craft small clusters, I just fill those sockets with jewels. I lose all of the dot damage, get fire and elemental damage, craft some decent jewels where I focus on totem life once more, as that provides the base damage for Flamewood. I take Ancestral Bond, the totem casting test in the hideout is successful, the boss test is successful as well, if only Glaze would just stand still. I even try with some changes if I can sustain Righteous Fire, but I will let the footage speak for itself. I realize I have some more fun uniques, such as the Torch Oak Step, providing totem life. These are not bad for the build. Resistances and character overview are looking solid. And then I went like, I have even more uniques. Let me unleash my inner Mathil and get as many uniques in a single build as humanly possible, completely scuffing the whole deal in the process, in SSF no less. And so I take a look at this helmet, the Foulborn, the Formless Flame, where totem life is increased by their overcapped fire resistance. As totem life is base damage, I am all for this, and I start using Purity of Fire and Purity of Elements to give them a heap of overcapped fire resistance. The Searing Bond totems apparently have 75 base fire resistance already, so these two auras add a bunch of totem life with this helmet. And I'm not done yet, because I also have the Foulborn Soul Mantle with baked-in level 20 Flamewood support, meaning I could put my Searing Bond totem on a pseudo 7 link and I can't resist the temptation here. Who cares if I lose 3600 flat armor and 400 flat energy shield, right? What is the worst that could happen? So I color the thing, I 6-link it, slot in all the gems, add fire penetration support, link enhance to my auras for even more resistances. Realize I can barely cast my own skills, but okay. I craft an amethyst flask because my chaos res is now shit, and lo and behold, here you see the build in action. Now, I will say, the damage output is rather ridiculous. Here is a regular Searing Exarch. And yeah, that's pretty fun, right? You may, however, have noticed I have no less than 9 curses on me, you gotta catch them all. And in maps you have all of that as well, plus map modifiers. Map bosses melt, sure, but yeah, is this the way that Chris intended me to play the game? Just to prove my point, here is an 80% delirious map, and it is pretty ridiculous honestly, how fast everything dies. That includes myself, by the way. Still, this is, I feel, a very decent showcase of the potential of the build in SSF. Here is the 80% delirious map boss. I managed to clear the whole thing and managed to deal with the rares that you would normally skip with Soul Eater and everything. Another small showcase because I do think this is quite enjoyable. Here is a tier 17 abomination boss. This is all a lot of fun, but am I really gonna recommend you guys run around with 9 curses in your maps? I did try to fix it, by the way. I tried to reduce curse effect with jewels and rings, and I even looked at self-curse synergy. There's this jewel that gives 15% increased damage per curse on you. But I couldn't fit all of that in one build, and it became pretty apparent to me that while Flamewood support is the future, I completely overcooked here, and I gotta turn down the fire a bit on this menu, or my comments section will eat me alive. I will also show you 2 Uber boss attempts that I did with this build, embarrassing as they were. I kinda thought my damage would perhaps carry me through these fights, but there's absolutely no way. I get one shot by every single ability. The Maven is a complete shitshow, and on top of that, the damage is bad too because she doesn't hit my totems. It's a total disaster really. Or maybe a totem disaster. I then decided I might have more luck at this Searing Exarch, seeing as the earlier version went so well. But also here, I just die from him even looking at me, and also this fight is not even close. I decide to leave the realm of the idiot sandwich and unleash my inner Guga, going for that Perfect Sear, everybody. I 5-link this great chest so I get a bunch of defenses back, recolor the staff so the gems can go back into the staff. I am running at this point Flamewood, multiple totems, concentrated effect, controlled destruction and elemental focus for support gems. When I'm mapping in tier 16s I swap out concentrated effect for increased area of effect, and of course that means that the Foulborn totem chest is out, but the helmet stays. The increased totem life for overcapped resistances I can easily fit into the build, and I can make use of the purity of fire and purity of elements as well. Plus I am now ailment immune, so this whole setup feels a lot better pretty much immediately. Sometimes you have to overcook to find some balance, and if you don't take it past the smoking point you never know when the build is toast. But now I'm feeling back on track. Here is a tier 17 and the damage isn't completely bonkers anymore, sure, but at least I am not dying if someone looks at me funny. Boss damage, not too bad. I even forgot the curse here, and the map has a ton of elemental resistances, but I am in no danger of dying though, so that is good. I reached level 94 in this very juiced and dense tier 16. I still wouldn't classify this as a mapper, but it can map comfortably. It's just a little slow. I'm aiming for this to be good at bosses, however. I care a little less about maps, but I need some more levels, hence I am mapping. In smaller maps like Toxic Sewers, the beams from Searing Bond totems still incinerate the monsters despite me not scaling dot anymore, and clear speed is actually decent. I decide to take on the normal Maven, and I think this fight is a great showcase of the strengths and weaknesses of the build. The main problem in the Maven phases is that there's almost nothing hitting the totems, and when nothing hits the totems the Flamewood doesn't proc and I do no damage, only the dot damage. Compare that to the Brain phase where all of a sudden everything starts hitting the totems and the brain dies in mere seconds. I've already shown you a Searing Exarch as well, but now it is Maven Witnessed, it is the normal version. The Ball phase, where I use Purity of Fire of course, and I can instantly place totems to pop some balls isn't bad either. On top of that I can tank like 3 balls in succession. I try a bunch more fights, Elder fights, that's Maven Witnessed and the regular Elder, and it's all super smooth, because the burning damage is enough to kill the monsters and the Flamewood takes care of the rest. In the last phase I do again have the same issue, nothing hits the totems, but it's all good. Shaper is not much of an issue either, the same pros and cons. I need something to hit the totems like the slam or the balls. Dot damage is not a hit and doesn't do anything, and then I witnessed enough of these to do the Feared. And that would be the new Feared with the improved Cirrus and Dread. Let me just show you how that went.
Let the blood dance begin! Struggle or struggle! Twin terrors!
Means to an end. Gaze to the abyss. Darkness is everything we see, and everything we want. In the darkest part of your mind, there is untold power. Means to an end.
Shadow, rise and fight!
Influence and power. Means to an end.
Twnks Totems!
Darkness is everything we see, and everything we want. Unbridled revelry.
Handle this! Time to up the stakes! Struggle or struggle! Twin terrors!
What do you think? I think that went pretty well. The Synthesis boss circle attack, those are all hits as it turns out, and with that attack he fries the whole room. And this little showcase gave me the confidence to push the build even further, so I spent about 4 hours on stream killing tier 17 bosses and collecting their fragments, so I can attempt most of the Uber bosses on the build. My run across the Uber bosses starts with Uber Cortex, and the base idea is, as long as these bosses are hitting my totems, I should have no issues clearing them. And when they don't hit my totems, I will have to figure out something else. Uber Cortex with the double bosses do plenty of hits, and it doesn't take long to fry 8 bosses, and I am rewarded with the Apostate. The first time I'm seeing this item. Then Uber Shaper, a boss with significantly less hits. Also a boss I have never actually tried before, as I didn't have enough fragments before. It's not too bad all in all. Those Chaos Orbs hurt an awful lot, I will say that, but he manages to hit my totems at least somewhat frequently, so when that happens he phases fairly fast. I do die 5 times in total, however, and here I am on my last portal, but fortunately I pull through, and I get an achievement as a reward, plus the Echoes of Creation. Then Uber Elder. This fight went very well on the SRS Guardian, as those minions knew exactly what to kill and when. It is a bit more chaotic on the Searing Flamewood totems because primarily the Elder doesn't hit my totems all that much. Also the portal phase is a bit of a mess because again those portals don't hit my totems. Some phases take quite a long time, but I am in no danger of failing this fight, and after about 5 minutes the fight is over. Up next, Uber Searing Exarch. Searing Totems versus Searing Exarch. Let's see who wins. I do a bit of prep, a ruby flask, an extra life flask. Despite all that, it still is an incredibly difficult fight. He just does so much damage, and I have a hard time to avoid that with just Flame Dash. I can quite easily pop the balls by placing totems, and my totems do a ton of damage when he does hit them, but unfortunately I am on my last portal here. I do the ball phase very well, I feel, but I still get killed by incineration. Tough luck really, because I have Culling Strike on Flame Dash and he would have died, but yeah, this one is a failure unfortunately. I am much more successful at Uber Series, a fight I've never done either. I will just skip to the last phase. I think that is by far the most interesting. He does hit a lot with a lot of different stuff, so it's not too hard getting in the damage. I somehow survive a meteor to the face. I also survive the die beam, which are in fact multiple hits, and he goes down. Here is Uber Maven. I've already shown you the regular Maven, and Uber Maven has the exact same issues. She barely hits, so I'm hoping for her to cast Cascade of Pain, as those are all hits, and the 5 fireballs, those are also hits, and her AoE slam. I completely fry the Maven brain as everything over there hits. It just takes a few seconds, and for the Maven phases I am just very patient. I create these totem clusters, so she gets barrages with mortars once she casts Cascade of Pain, and it hits all of my little totems that I all cast in the same place. I also make sure I stand on top of those totems so that anything that is casted at me will hit my totems, and that is how I navigate through the whole fight. I die only twice. The last phase isn't much harder than the previous ones, as I don't have to change my strategy and I can just stand on my totems and avoid the beams and do the memory game. Here we have the Uber Eater. He hits hard, but he hits a lot. In terms of the damage that I do to him, it's not that much of an issue. In terms of the damage he does to me, he hurts a lot. I use quite a few portals, as many of his abilities one-shot me, but overall a very manageable fight. He also bites the dust. Finally, I have Uber Dread, which is just a complete shitshow. On the SRS Guardian, this wasn't difficult at all, as the minions auto-target whatever needs to be killed. With Flamewood Totems, that is not exactly the case. On top of that, he doesn't hit all that often. The fight seems bugged almost, with random roses showing up, also when he is not even incapacitated. This is overall very weird. I have a hard time figuring out what is going on here, and I don't even come close to killing him. And I think that's fine. I'm rather positively surprised with how much content this build ultimately did. It went from scaling totem dot damage into an Uber boss killer using several iterations, and the process was super fun. I think it's very viable as well in SSF, these totems, especially as a second build. I'm super pleased with the result. I enjoyed myself a lot with these Searing Bond totems, and I hope you enjoyed watching this video as well. I'm honestly not sure if I have another Foulborn Roulette in me. I will see. I'll try to think of some more hopefully interesting videos to make about PoE. So guys, don't forget to subscribe, like and share the video if you want. Thanks for watching and making it to the end. See you soon. Love you all. Bye bye.